But guys, let's get into it, man. Let's start giving our overall projections. Let's start breaking down these position groups, and we're going to try to flow through this very smoothly tonight. We had media day. We had LT Overton speak, and I want to bring up LT Overton's interview. We're going to run it for about 3 minutes, and let you all kind of react to it. LT Overton, someone who last year coming out of the portal came in with a lot of high side. Everybody was excited. Got this great defensive lineman from Texas A&M, came in and made an immediate impact. And just like the rest of the defense, that transition phase of trying to get on the same page with Coach Formick and the new staff on the defensive side, learning different techniques, you saw him just get better and better every week. Ending last season, one of your top defensive linemen slash edge defensive lineman in that was draft eligible, chose to come back for another year. I think brings great depth to this defensive line rotation. Let's see what he had to say at today's Alabama Media Day.
Fall camp's been a battle. I've seen a lot of guys. I'm gonna wait till he's done. Fall camp's been a grind. I've seen a lot of guys battling, and not just battling but growing. I've seen not just the offense and defense getting better, but the special teams. And I feel like every every situation of the game is the most important part. And we've been playing. We've been going through fall camp like we're about to enter in a national championship in a few weeks, and that's how it should be. Well, my group of guys, of course, we got me and TK, but we got Jordan Renaud, we got Edric Hill, James. So we've been having some real sleepers over this past year, and I've just been seeing tremendous growth. Keon Kelly, especially too, and then the new freshmen coming in like London Hill. Um, these guys just not only have been applying themselves on the field as leaders, but off the field, and that by itself just shows how much growth there is to the D line. Well, one of our like main goals, and not just this defense, but the whole team is being consistent. Like, how consistent are we trying to? Or how consistent are we making our days on getting better? We're not trying to slack off or have any lackadaisical days. We're trying to make sure we're consistent, getting better day by day, and stay in that playbook for sure. We want to make sure we're moving fast on that field. I've been seeing like tremendous growth. Like, not just even on the. Like, I know I'm a defensive lineman, but not just on the O line, the wideouts, the running backs. I've seen calls, shifts, like everybody's coming together as one on the offensive unit. I've been even seeing some crazy stuff that I've never seen. Like, when they talk about NFL pro style type of offense, that's what you're gonna see this year.
Hey, and I'm gonna stop it right there. That's kind of what I wanted to end on. I know we're talking defense. I know we're talking defensive line, but that's something that a lot of defensive players said in their interviews today. I'm kind of being spoiler right now, but we're gonna run it like this, man. Taking it with LT Overton, he just continues to speak on how locked in they are. Jeff, speak. I want to you in particular speak on the depth of this defensive line and how you see this defensive line being utilized going into this 2025 season, man.
Absolutely. I love all that he said, by the way, on LT Overton. Definitely confident. Like how he was mentioning consistency, because that is definitely what we need all across the board. Last year, we were way too inconsistent as an entire team. So that's hopefully what we'll be more focused on this year is being consistent week to week. At least like not having any like D games or F games. You want to at least like at your worst be like a C plus or better every single week. But defensive line in particular, I mean, LT Overton, like the fact that it seems like he's stepping up into that leadership role on the defense because, I mean, he's one of the most experienced guys we have on the entire team. He's a senior, and, him along with Tim Keenan, those two guys are definitely going to be massive defensive players for us this season. I feel like those guys can really showcase to the younger guys that we have on our defensive line how to actually play defense at a high level in the SEC because the SEC is so tough. Every team, has great offenses, great defenses these days, pretty much. Like even the bad teams have talent. So you have to be great week in and week out. Tim Keenan, LT Overton definitely are guys that I think can show some of our younger guys like Jeremiah Beeman and Jordan Renault, some of those younger players that haven't been able to crack into the starting lineup yet, how to play. Because after this year, they're not going to be here. Those guys are going to be moving on to the NFL, and it's going to be up to some of these younger guys next season and beyond to step up into those leadership roles. So that's what you want every single, season, is for those older guys to show the younger guys how to play and how to perform at a high level and do things the right way week in and week out on and off the field. And I really like the confidence LT Overton showed. If him and Tim Keenan really step up this season, along with James Smith, he's another guy that a lot of people are high on. I think that those younger guys can learn from them. And overall, our defensive line can be one of our strongest position groups on the team for this season and hopefully in the future as well.
100%, 100%. And schematically, we got Coach Johnny Burks in the house. You can't have Coach in the house and not talk some football, talk some X's and O's, Coach. So a lot of people weren't a fan of the 4-2-5.
3-3-5.
About to have a debate already. Look, we about to have a debate already.
Already.
A lot of people weren't a fan of it last year. And you're absolutely right. Personnel-wise, we do call it 3-3-5. But there are some key things, and we'll have a debate about this later. But, Coach, what do you see about this defensive line rotation? How does this year, going into the year number 2, Coach Kane Womack's style of aggressive play calling, the type of stunts and fits that we want to see, the aggressive nature of it, do you think this team, this personnel that's available right now, the way we went out and padded that defensive line experience, the linebacker group, how athletic has become, the secondary, the type of style of defensive backs, this scheme, how does it fit defensive line-wise?
Very well. And so that's why with me, I mean, you've heard me say over and over that 3-3-5, I was not a fan of it. Now, there are several teams that use that. But our defensive linemen are here's the difference. To me, our best depth going into the fall is secondary. All right. So you want to enhance the ability of the secondary to make plays. Well, put more pressure on the quarterback. They'll force more quick throws, more mistakes, and hurry ups and stuff like that. And so, to me, I don't know. You can go 4-3-4. I mean, but the 3-3-5, I would throw that out the window unless it's a Hail Mary at the end of the game. But with the defensive front, with the depth we have, with LT and the linebacker and the secondary especially, I mean, we need to get after the friggin' quarterback, and that enhances secondary to be able to make plays. And so it's a good scenario, but like I've said over and over and over, all I care about is how they're going to line up. First down, first play of the game against Florida State. If I look out there, they're in a 3-3-5. I'm fixing to take the TV. I'm just going to throw it out off my deck out into the pool, and I'm just going to, whatever. What are we thinking? Okay. We just got to. Yeah, well, I mean, you're on where I was so upset last year with the defense at 3-3-5. So we're strong up front. We're good at the linebacker. We're excellent in the secondary. Let's put some guys up there and let's get after that freaking quarterback.
100%. Jackson, round it out, man. D-line, dark horse. We had a lot of play by committee last year. We never had. I think I can ask around the panel right now. If we ask who was the standout defensive lineman from each end position to the interior guys, there was nobody that really just stood out week in and week out.
They weren't given a chance. They were 3-3-5. You got 5 guys blocking 3. So I don't mean to interrupt. Right now, I know, but it sucks.
He want to have his debate so bad right now. Coach, it's not a 3-3-5 when you have a outside linebacker playing a true end technique. I mean, literally the 5 line over the tackle, outside tackle, he's playing in the 9. He's shooting the inside. A lot of stunts, inside stunts, rolls from the 5 to the 3, 5 to the 1. That's the defensive end assignment when you're running 70, 80% of your snaps from that stance. I understand you don't like your linebackers dropping back in coverage, but you got to be able to play balance, and that's why you recruit guys like Yanzi Pierre, Quay Rousseau. You get guys like that can really drop back in coverage. You don't put Ja Latham out there and make him a cover guy anymore. You get away from there after week 4 when he proved that he couldn't do it. So I think the 4-2-5 transition very good from being out of a 3-4 base scheme, 3-4 nickel scheme like Coach Saban used to run. A lot of terminology changes, a lot of the same concepts, but definitely personnel groupers were asked to do a lot of different assignments. And I think what you ended with last year, being able to run a true defensive end out there at the wolf position, or running your edge rushing outside linebacker, and putting those skill sets to use and being able to see those things and project it. I think we saw a good end point, and I think because of that, like Jeffrey said earlier, the defense is ahead of the offense in my opinion. Just
It
based
is.
on the performance and everything, from late in the spring ball to early fall camp practices, and even in the 7-on-7, the defensive backs and how they're reacting in 7-on-7 on air, just fighting through passes, fighting through catches, fighting through plays. It's telling you that they're understanding things on a higher level. And in that, I think you're going to see a lot of the schematic fit be a lot more fitting this year than it was last year.
Well, hey, I'm just going to tell you, if they don't, if we don't see that, I'm going to be railing. Somebody, I'll be railing every week on defense.
But Jackson, give it to us, man. The dark horse on the D line. Who really pops this year for you? Just looking at the defensive line rotation. I mean, you got your day ones, Tim Keenan, and like we said, LT Overton, but you got some dark horses. I think that people need to keep their names on. We saw
James Smith is a name we definitely need to keep our eye on for
Yes, sir.
2025.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
He's a guy that can really get things rolling. And I'll be honest, I can't wait to see what he brings against Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and Florida State. Like, you're going to see more of him when we go against those schools.
100%. And like you said, I want to throw it back to Jackson. Not Jackson, Jeff. There's a transfer that we haven't heard a lot about. But if you watched Florida last year, you were kind of like, man, if this guy ever had some help, this guy could really be that guy, and that's Kelby Collins. Talk to me. What do you think that rotation of Collins and Overton and Keeley? That to me is like a key in finding how you roll that information. Roll that personnel grouping out and let those guys kind of get loose against an opposing offense.
For sure. Kelby Collins is a very talented player. According to most depth charts online, it doesn't look like he's going to be starting because you've got LT Overton, Tim Keenan, and James Smith. But to have him as like your fourth guy, who, if he really performs well, he could even crack into the starting lineup somehow if he plays at a high level. But even if not, you want to have depth at every position, and having your fourth guy basically be a starter, a starting level player, a probably even close to borderline all SEC type of player. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to have. That's what separates elite programs from good programs and even great programs, is when you have that kind of depth. So I think Kelby Collins is going to be an incredible fourth guy in the defensive line rotation. After that, things get a little bit, more sketchy on who's going to step up, because most of the guys after that are like sophomores and freshmen, and we haven't really seen him much. As I mentioned earlier, Jeremiah Beeman, he's a guy that people are very high on in the future. Edric Hill, Jordan Renaud, but Kelby Collins, he's a sure thing. He's going to do well. He's going to perform at a high level, and he's definitely going to be in the rotation heavily this season. And like I said, basically be a fourth starter.
So just so that we're clear, everybody, Collins is not playing on the interior. He's the bandit over at basically your traditional defensive end position. And right now, based off of the practice footage that I've been watching and everything, he's it's him and Overton going with the ones. Tim Keenan will be at the interior. You might see Jeremiah Beeman next to Tim Keenan. You might see James Smith next to Tim Keenan. But Tim Keenan has been the only consistent in that rotation. But right there on the end, I've seen LT Overton. I've seen Kelby Collins. I know Keon Keeley has been basically your 2A guy for the second team of that bandit position. So we're going to see a lot of Kelby Collins. I don't know why people thought he was going to be playing the interior. He's not even big enough. He's only 255, 260, standing 6'4", 6'5". Like I said, that true defensive end fit. So I think just that rotation alone is going to be something that you have to scheme for. You're talking about putting a left tackle or a tight end in one-on-ones, or trying to get them to decipher if they got the overhang or Kelby Collins or Keon Keeley or LT Overton coming off the edge at them. That's a problem. That's a problem to have. So just for that personnel-wise, I think we're in a great position. But like you said, a starter like personnel coming over to the Crimson Tide, just padding a room that's full of depth with a lot of returning experience. Not a lot of experience, but guys who have time on campus and time in game. Last year, we saw a lot of these names get spot play and really show up towards the end of the season. But now we're going to get to see a lot of these guys blossom. So final take on this defensive line rotation, guys. I think we're probably in the best position we've been in probably about 6 or 7 years at Alabama. When you talk about depth and opportunity with the amount of talent that's been kind of just being held back over the past 2 years, guys like Jeremiah Beaman, Edric Hill, and Jordan Renard, that interior rotation of guys where they can float between all three of those positions, that's going to be key to providing some depth for fresh guys like James Smith and Tim Keenan and LT Overton. So when it's time for those big moments, you got your experience out there and they're fresh. A lot of less penalties we should be able to see from this defensive line. But let's kind of transition to the rest of the roster, you all. We're not going to hit every spot tonight. Like I said, we got a limited time. I kind of want to hit some of the spots that haven't been talked about. We've been high on the defensive backs, but let's talk about the inside linebacker rotation. We're talking about the Will and the Mike linebackers, Deontay Lawson, Justin Jefferson, Nakai Hillis-Green, Abdul Sanders Jr., QB Reese, Caden Jones, Luke Metz, Duke Johnson. This group of linebackers, a lot of talent. When I say those names, you kind of get excited. But when you look at the amount of experience in those rooms, we're really lacking outside of Deontay Lawson and Nakai Hillis-Green. Justin Jefferson played some spots last year, but not enough to really say how consistent he can be in Kane Wommack's defense. So going back to schematics, Coach Johnny, talk to us, man. Do you see these skill sets being able to thrive this year? And what changes do you possibly think need to be made so that position can be more productive than it was last year?
Well, I mean, on how you line them up. I mean, if you go 4-3-4, you can get more of them on the field. I mean, the luxury for Alabama right now is you've got so much talent on defense, secondary, linebacker, defensive front, that kind of stuff. And so now, and of course, obviously, first down, second down, third down, yard, down and distance, that kind of stuff. And so you have as a coach, you've got a plethora of ways in which you can confuse the offense and put them in different positions, different lineups, different personnel, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got a way in which to create massive confusion for a quarterback. Okay. So the opportunities there are just, it's unlimited. I mean, with so much depth and so much talent. So, but, bottom line, if you're a defense coordinator, how are you going to line them up? And how are you going to choose to play them in situations that benefit the team? Not the player, but the team. Okay? And so, gosh, I wish I were the defense coordinator, because I would have a field day with the talent they've got down there right now with regard to putting people in. And they've got a defense, guys. They have a defensive personnel that can dictate to the offense. Okay, a lot of times in this hurry up and all that kind of stuff, the offense is dictating the defensive personnel. You remember back when Coach Saban was running players off and running players on, and all this other kind of stuff. Alabama's in the situation right now. They can dictate to, and that's a great situation. I mean, everybody's, defense always catches up to the offense, and so the hurry up and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the defense is caught up with regard to it. Offense is going to have to get a little more dynamic. But Alabama's in a situation when they put people out on, there in defense, on the field. First down, second down, third down, they can pretty much rotate and move people and dictate what they're going to call. So, 100%. I mean, that's a luxury, Coach. That's a luxury right there. Alabama's in that right now.
Yep. And Jeff, sending me your inside linebacker rotation, knowing Lawson's coming back, that's huge. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be healthy, first 3-4 weeks. I don't think he's going to be 100%. Maybe some spot play in those times. But I think that's the opportune time to really see what type of depth we have without having him on the field. Give me your thoughts on that take in itself, but also, what do you see as far as rotation-wise? I'm going to keep coming to you about personnel rotations, because that's where you're going to have to know. You're going to have to know it, Jeff. I've seen your breakdowns post-game, watching the film, giving numbers of who missed what tackles and who should have been where. I need you to know these inside linebacker rotations. What you got rolling out for us this week one against Florida State, knowing that what we have available with Nakai Hillis-Green coming in, Justin Jefferson returning, the young talent behind those guys, Deontay Lawson not being 100%. Shoot it to us, brother.
It's definitely going to be interesting because, as Coach Johnny said, it's how we decide to line up. Like, how are we doing our defensive rotations? 4-3? Are we doing the 3-3 or the 4-2, as you say, Coach Smook? However you want to call it. It depends on how we really do go out there with our defensive lineups. But, yeah, with Deontay Lawson not being 100% probably for the beginning of the season, that really is going to hurt. But, like you said, it is a good opportunity for a guy like Caden Jones, who is behind him on the depth chart, to possibly be able to showcase his ability, maybe kind of vie for a starting job of his own if he's able to play at a high level. Justin Jefferson, some people think he's going to start at middle linebacker. Like you said, it's either going to be him or Nakai Hill-Green. I think you could really go either way with it because of the fact that I think, like Jefferson, he's, a guy that has shown flashes, and he's a really experienced guy, but he hasn't really been able to completely break through. And then Nakai Hill-Green, he's very talented as well, also very experienced. So probably Nakai Hill-Green will start over Justin Jefferson, but that really could go either way. I would probably say Caden Jones is going to start at Deontay Lawson's spot if Deontay Lawson does not play. To start out, obviously, if he does play, it's going to be Deontay Lawson because he's one of our best defensive players coming into the season. And then other guys like Duke Johnson and, Luke Metz, Abdul Sanders Jr., they're way back in the depth chart, but they could get some spot moments early in the season, especially if we do run it up against Florida State and some of our early opponents as well. But definitely the key rotation at linebackers, Nakai Hill-Green, Justin Jefferson, Caden Jones, and obviously Deontay Lawson if healthy.
But, I mean, are we talking about, middle linebacker and just that's the only position? Are we talking about moving them around? Because, I mean, Jefferson, he's a guy, you can move that guy around.
You could honestly start Jefferson and Nakai Hill-Green depending on how you do it, but I don't know how they're going to do their defensive rotation.
Okay, because I don't think they need to be
just early looks at fall practice. I see Nakai Hill-Green and Justin Jefferson, 1 and 2 out there. Deontay Lawson plays in or steps up in a lot of their warm-up drills, but we're seeing Nakai Hill-Green and Justin Jefferson, and right behind them, a name that a lot of people for some reason have been quiet on. I've been very high on this young man, QB Reese. Last year made a huge impact and got thrown into the rotation in the Michigan game and played quality snaps in the Michigan game. But then right there, Abdul Sanders Jr., true freshman from Mater Dei, he steps in and really was playing with the ones in week 2 of spring practice, literally playing with the starters, second scrimmage, came out there and played 22 snaps with the first team. Been playing a lot of solid second team reps, on that first group with special teams. That's what you see with a lot of your defensive coordinators who are kind of inside linebacker coaches, like Kane Womack, who specializes in coaching linebackers. They throw those guys in a lot of leadership roles on other teams, such as special teams, such as dime package. And Abdul Sanders Jr. is probably one of the most athletic inside linebackers we have, and his young talent. He's on that trajectory, I believe, like we saw from Mack Wilson. In a spot where he's not going to be counted on to play impact minutes, but his IQ and his production, his ability to run fit, but also get out in coverage and really cover linebackers and tight ends out of the backfield, that's what separates him right now and a lot of that other young talent. And like you all said, Caden Jones is a name that kind of just got behind the ball with injuries, but I don't believe he's going to be as much of an impact player as we would like, but definitely a strong veteran presence that's going to be able to provide those 1 to 2 snaps when you need those young guys coming off to get a good look at something, But otherwise than that, man, I love our inside linebacker rotation, man. And like you said, how do you utilize them? We have different rush packages, blitz packages that I believe you're going to have to put Jefferson on the edge. That type of speed coming off the edge, his tackling ability, open field tackling ability, his coverage ability. You can put him and Quay Russaw on the field at the same time on the edges, and you slide guys like Keely and LT Overton kind of to more your interior fits. Man, you're talking about a crazy elite pass rush.
Yeah.
Jackson, who you said your dark horse was, Jackson?
I said James Smith.
I mean, for the inside linebackers.
Well, for inside linebackers, I'm just kind of tuning in, and I'm thinking Jefferson's going to be a good one because I'm excited to see what he's bringing. I mean, he's going to bring
like
that
him too.
magic.
I like him too.
What is it about him, Coach Burks, that you like about Jefferson? Because a lot of people weren't very high on him last year, and I don't think he had enough
I was.
opportunities last year.
I thought I like his movement. I like his attack on the ball, and but there again, I'm back to where are you going to line them up and stuff like that. And some of these guys you got to move around. When I was coaching way back, I mean, sometimes you have a strong safety, you have corners and stuff like that. My secondary and people on defense, I moved them around. I didn't want this. I might have a corner over on the strong side, one whatever, and then on the weak side the next. I didn't, and so where the offense could never just okay, well this player's on this, and we're going to run this play, and so especially that was in the secondary. But then when you get up front and just putting somebody at a 3 technique, and that's where they only play and stuff like that, I always like moving them around, giving them different opportunities. And Jefferson's one of those athletes that you can move him around. I mean, he does not have to just sit there at the middle linebacker. He can be outside. He can be on the, defensive end. It's just, and that kind of stuff kind of confuses the defense. But I get tired of just, he's going to play here, and that's the only spot he's going to play. I like to confuse, the defense a little bit.
I think you're going to see more of that this season.
I hope so.
Because of the transition last year and the timing of it, you didn't have the full 24 to 28 weeks of transitional, where guys were able to get the language there. You got to remember, Jefferson was coming out of a system that he was just getting the hang of, getting the play calls from Kevin Steele. And they used a lot of, NFL terminology, and Kane Womack's ideal to get his system transition was to simplify everything. So we saw a very vague, a very simplified version of Kane Womack's style of play calling early on in the season. That's why I believe we turned the corner. Once you saw kind of Jaheim Otis exit and some of the guys that were playing, getting a lot of those snaps in front of the younger guys, once you saw those guys get kind of moved down the depth chart, and you got those young guys that really were being bought in and taught this system, this was their first system being taught, that's when I saw production go up around week 5, week 6 of last season. Even against Oklahoma, that game was more so on the offense. The defense gave the offense, 4 extra possessions. We actually ended up with 3 more possessions, offensive possessions, than Oklahoma, only to come away with 3 points. So you can't blame the defense for that. I love the production of the defense. I love the inside linebacker depth right now. I think right now, if I had to guess the depth chart right now, I would say walking out Florida State, we will see Nakai Hill-Green, the transfer from Colorado, start. We will see Justin Jefferson line up next to him. And I think you'll see a heavy dose of the rotation with QB Reese, Deontay Lawson playing a lot of key spot plays, getting guys lined up early in the first half. But I don't think we'll see a lot of Deontay Lawson early on in this season, only because of how these other guys have picked up in this system. QB Reese is going into year 2 of this being the first defensive scheme he's learned at the collegiate level. I think we're going to see more of him than what people expect.
Yeah.
There we go.
Go ahead.
And we got some super chats from Caden the Diesel Free. The second one, we appreciate the super chat contributions. He says, Alabama's defense has a few flaws, and I've noticed some things.
Oh, speak up. I would love to hear that, because statistically, Alabama was the number 3 ranked defense in college football for the last 6 weeks of the regular season. And that's just overall statistics. That's even giving up 21 or what it was, 20-3. What was the score to Oklahoma? 20-3.
28-3. 23. Yeah, 23-3.
Points per possession. It took them, 11 possessions to get those
24-3.
points.
My mistake.
11 possessions. We were giving up, for every 11 possessions, we were giving up 3 points. That's crazy good when you talk about teams averaging anywhere from 9 to 18 possessions a game across college football last year. So I think just the continuity, the language being more fluent this season, guys like Jefferson being able to fly around, use their athleticism without thinking as much, because it's a part of them. That's when you're going to see the real growth from.
And add in the versatility. You've got players that can play a lot of different positions and things. You can move them around, that type of scenario. So when you got a lot of depth, not worried about injuries or stuff like that, because there's people that can step in and fulfill the role.
100%.